So we've all been there, totally torn between wanting to help and wanting to preserve our peace. We want to be generous, we want to be reliable, but we also want to rest. So what's the line between self-care and selfishness? Between honoring our limits and being someone that other people can count on. So that's what today's episode is all about on Cozy Notes. If you're new here, I'm Xuan. This is Cozy Notes, our special little place where we just talk about intentional living, mindful living, not being overwhelmed anymore, being stress-free, or as stress-free as we possibly can, because there's no such thing as stress-free, right? So I'm so glad you're here, and let's dive in. So I think some people think that slow living means that you just like forget everyone else. It's all about me, taking care of myself, doing nothing, not going out, leaving the house. Things are not black and white. Let's remove ourselves from that black and white thinking and realize that life is very nuanced, okay? When we're talking about lifestyles, those are very nuanced too, right? Not everyone who's into slow living lives on a homestead and farms and cans their food and homeschools their kids and etc., right? A lot of us live in the suburbs, and it's not like slow living is not about being anti-society, right? But it's more about being intentional about your life, about your time here on earth with your family, with your friends. Yeah, so there's like, we're constantly walking, and I think we're constantly walking this like tightrope line. I don't know, the circus is in town, so I'm just thinking in circus terms. This tightrope between doing too much and doing nothing at all. And, you know, like I've talked about in the past, like there's this like pendulum swing, right? And so we see like our society is very like focused on productivity and hustling and all that stuff. And so we think that we need to go to the extreme opposite, which is like anti-hustle, anti-productivity, when in all honesty, we need to be somewhere towards the center where we do the things that help promote and create a community, right? Where we help others. But also we want to take care of ourselves. So we need to be somewhere in the center where if we want to be able to do things for our community, we need to have the capacity to do it. And we can't not have the capacity to do it if we don't take care of ourselves. Just like with our family, we want to be able to be there for our family, but we can't be there for our family and be like the good mom or parent or sibling or cousin or aunt or whatever if we don't fill our own cup, if we are not happy or joyful or feeling, you know, that we have purpose in life. And so, like I said, the whole protect your peace culture is really, it's helpful, but it can also get extreme. Like anything can be an extreme. And we don't want to be isolated. We don't want to be disengaged. We want to be part of our community. But we also need to take care of ourselves. And I think also, you know, us women, we tend to be very nurturing. Not all of us, but majority. We're very nurturing, and we're conditioned as well to say yes before we even check in with ourselves to make sure that we can do the thing that people want us to do. So slow living isn't about saying no to everything, even though if you watch my Instagram reels, you're going to think that's what it's all about. But no, it's not. It's not about saying no to everything. It's about pausing, checking in with yourself and doing what feels aligned with what you find important in life. So I used to overextend myself all the time, saying yes to everything, wanting to be helpful, doing all the things. And I mean, one moment that comes to mind is that I have a friend that wrote a book, and I love editing. I'm a very good editor. I think I'm a better editor than I am a writer. But I love editing. I wanted to help my friend with the editing, but you know, I just had a baby. I think it was like my second or third child, I don't remember, but I just had a baby. I just had a lot going on. My husband was working all the time. I think my parents were having health issues and stuff. And for whatever reason, I volunteered. I said, hey, I'll help you edit your manuscript. And she sent it to me and she was excited and stuff. And then I realized like after a week, I wasn't picking up to edit it. And I'm like, why is that? Like, I love editing. Editing is my favorite thing to do. So why am I not doing it? And I realized it's because I was at capacity. I did not have any reserves to put towards that. And instead of checking in with myself and thinking about what I had the capacity for, I automatically said yes. And I was like, okay, don't do that again. I learned my lesson there. So yeah, we just need to learn to check in with ourselves instead of automatically saying yes. I have a friend that had a neighbor that needed help. She's an elderly neighbor, and she needed help with, checking in for her flight and doing all the things, on technology nowadays. When you fly somewhere, you need to check in on your phone. So she was going to help her. She volunteered to help her do that, but she didn't have the capacity to actually do it, even though it was a very simple task that she could do very easily. But she's just a very busy woman, working a full-time job, taking care of 2 kids, just doing all the things. And like, she just didn't have the time to do it. But I mean, she kept her word and she did the thing. But I think she learned that she needs to check in with herself to make sure she has the time and the availability to do things. Because oftentimes when we say yes to something, maybe at the time you have the capacity to do it. But when it comes to actually doing it at a later time, your future self does not have the capacity to tackle whatever it is that they need to do. So checking in with yourself and your calendar too. Check in with your calendar too. And then on the flip side of that is saying no. Like, have you ever said no to something and then kind of regret having said no? Like, oh, I should have done that. Yeah, that's happened to me as well. Where I think like for me, it's like trips with friends. I've had friends and family invite us on trips with them, with my friends and their kids, or my family and their kids. And most of the time I say no. But looking back, I feel like I should have said yes, Like, I was saying no at the time because at that time when they asked, it's like I didn't have the money for it, or it was too far in advance. I didn't want to commit to something that far in advance. And yeah, and then in the end, like, I regretted not saying yes to it because those are memories that we could have made with our family and friends, and we didn't. And I wish that we could go back and make those memories. But, now I know in the future, if we get invited to do something, I need to actually do it, because who knows when the next time we're gonna be able to do it, Obviously, if you don't have the money to do it, don't put it on your credit card or whatever to do the thing. But, you could save money for it. Like, maybe you don't have the money at the time for the trip, but you can start up a little savings account for it and start saving money to go towards that trip so that you can do it, right? Like I said, both ends of the spectrum, we need to find somewhere in the middle where we can meet halfway, where we can be there, be a part of our community, but also honor our own time and our own energy. So now I have questions for you to ask yourself in the moment. So these are not rules, right? We don't like rules here in Cozy Notes. We don't like rules at all. Rules are made to be broken, in my opinion. So these are just gentle check-ins to help you make decisions that feel grounded and very intentional. So, am I saying yes because I want to, or because I feel like I should? Do I actually have capacity for this right now and in the future when it actually happens? What would saying no protect? What would saying yes serve? And is there a softer way to say yes or to say no? You can say, not right now, or I can help, but only with this small part. So remember, slow living isn't about swinging between the extremes or swinging from one end of the extreme to the next. It's not about saying yes to everything out of guilt or saying no to everything out of fear. It's about finding the middle, the space where you can honor your own energy and still show up and care for other people in our world. So remember, you're allowed to be generous and have boundaries. Mind blown, right? You're allowed to help and rest. The people who matter in your life don't need you to sacrifice yourself. They just need you to be present. And you cannot be present if you are depleted. So give yourself permission to respond from a place of intention and not obligation. And I think this is what it looks like to live well and slowly, and to love both yourself and others around you. And if this conversation speaks to you, I invite you to join me in Anchor In. We've already started. When this episode drops, we've already started with our first week, but you can join. You can join at any time. Every day for 6 weeks, or every weekday, I should say, for 6 weeks, I'm dropping little voice notes to help encourage you to live a slower and more intentional life. Just cozy, thoughtful support on your own time. And you'll find the details of it in the show notes or down in the description. And if you haven't done so yet, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or share this episode with a friend who may need this gentle support. So, love you so much, and I'll talk to you later. Ciao.